Well, hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody, and thank you so much for joining Brahmasol's webinar series. Today, we're starting out on a new topic, SAP Central Finance, and we're excited to present as the experts in SAP transformation, both finance transformation and compliance. We're excited to talk to you about what we think is a great way for you to get started, which is SAP Central Finance. So next slide, Sarah. Sarah, can you do the next slide? All right. Some housekeeping items as always. Reminder that it's being recorded. So for those of you who want to refer a friend or follow up on this later on and share it, it will be available through the Brahmasol website. Feel free to ask questions. Again, you have the question bar down there that you can see. And you are certainly welcome to download previous webinars from our homepage. Next. And you can see here on the home page, you can do it from the top of the screen where we have our resource center. Go to the resource center, you can get information on all kinds of different subjects, revenue accounting, asset management, leasing, S4HANA, S4HANA Cloud. So we got a lot of great stuff up there and some really great position papers by Julio, who's on the phone here today as well. And you can learn a lot more about revenue accounting. And then here in our resource center, you can download directly from the home page. So next. And then, as always, feel free to contact us, visit us on our website. We have well over 4,000 to 5,000 people coming on every month checking out our content. So I encourage you to get in there, take a look at our content. Join us on Facebook. We'd love to hear from you. And LinkedIn, link in with us. We have some conversations going on. It's a great way to network as well. Next slide. So today we'll be talking about Central Finance. We'll be doing an overview of the accounting and technology. So you'll hear from that both from Julio and Sarah. We'll see a Central Finance demo and then talk about the business benefits and do a quick wrap up with Q&A. Next. So with that, I am joined here by Sarah Thompson. She is a senior solution engineer and expert in this area, as well as Julio de la Costa, who is our director of technical accounting. They will be sharing some insights with you. So Sarah, I'm going to turn it over to talk about SAP's Intelligent Enterprise. Tell us more about the Intelligent Enterprise.
Thank you, John. Hello, everyone. So what SAP has done is they've really started this process around understanding what the digital value network is. The digital value network is really there to enable all business transformations. What we'll see here down at the bottom, so from kind of a platform standpoint, SAP has built this digital platform, whether it's on-prem or in the cloud. It's really helping to drive this new digital value network. It encompasses not only Internet of Things, big data, it brings in the analytics as well as the operations to kind of bring that all into one platform. If we come up to our applications, we can see here that it all drives from kind of integrated applications, starting with the digital core. The digital core is really giving companies the opportunity to kind of re-platform their core business processes. So it's bringing together not only those analytics in real time, but also connecting to other internal operations. So we'll see here such as workforce management or supplier collaboration, being able to go through an omni-channel consumer experience with your customers, bringing in your HR people engagement. So with all of that, it's really not only from an IT standpoint of bringing in higher productivity, increased performance on that side, but also from a user's perspective to be able to view the data, make better decisions, kind of have a higher productivity for your end users, and then be able to kind of transform your business processes. So from an IT standpoint, that kind of lays the playing field. We have also included one of our technical accountants, Julio de la Costa, who is going to kind of go in a little bit deeper on what are some of the actual key business benefits for the users that are out there today. So Julio?
Hi, Sarah. Good morning, everybody. So two things. From a user perspective, obviously using Central Finance S4, when you migrate to those platforms, there's a lot of IT benefits that'll be gained, in-memory computing, all the speed, efficiency. But from my perspective, my background, I'm coming from an accounting background. I'm a CPA. I am former controller. So what really are the benefits from a user perspective for the CFO's organization? Many of the beneficiaries of migrations to S4 Central Finance comes from the Chief Financial Officer, the Treasurer, the VP of FP&A, Corporate Controllers Group. So while there are a number of benefits for all users, I wanted to hone in on really 4 areas that I found would be most usable and beneficial as we migrate to the Central Finance. The first one is really predictive analysis and simulation. So as a former controller myself, you spend the first 15 days, 10 days of the month trying to close your books, trying to record your data to present to your executive team, to your shareholders, to your companies. So now, using the Central Finance platform, there's a potential to actually close your books anytime during the month. So basically, using technologies, you can really apply to close your books using estimation technology. So let's say you're in the middle of the month. You can run a program that's going to actually simulate what your month-end results are going to look like, what your quarterly results are going to look like. You can test it in different environments. You can use different product prices, internal cost, using currency exchange rates, depreciation rates. Why is that important? Because at the executive level, from a CEO, CFO perspective, they may ask you a question as a corporate controller or the VP of finance saying, well, what if we did it this way? What if we raised prices? What if we increased our margins? What would that look like? With the touch of a button, you can actually see that and see a simulated results of what is this going to look like? What is your company's results going to look like? And then you can basically extrapolate that not only for month-end results, but you can use your historical balances to predict. So this comes into the whole FP&A section now. So a lot of companies spend inordinate amounts of time trying to use your FP&A teams to do your 5-year forecast, your 5-year budgeting, your capital allocations. Using a powerful platform like Central Finance, you can really have that at the touch of a button to say, okay, what if I change this? What if I change that? And have a 5-year forecast printed out for you to make decision-making much faster. The predictive analysis and simulation is probably one of the most powerful benefits from my perspective because it allows quicker decision-making. It allows the executive branch of your organization to see these what-if scenarios done relatively quickly. In my experience, when a controller or a CEO asks, well, what if I raise prices over the next 2 years? What's it going to look like? I take it back to my accounting staff. We do the modeling. 3 or 4 days later, I'm responding to my CEO. With this platform, you really can respond a lot quicker because all the data is already built in and you're moving numbers here, to and from, and you have that analysis at your fingertips much quicker. That's the first benefit from the CFO's organization. If we dig a little deeper into the accounting organization, so these are the folks who are closing the books. You have your accounts payable department. What are some of the benefits that you would see from using the Central Finance platform? As we know, for us, of those who've been in accounting or work in accounting, accounts payable employees, they take days to close the books, to reconcile items, especially when you have a high purchase order environment. There's a new app, it's called the AP app, which basically automates the handling of inbound invoices and extracts information to your general ledger. Why is that important? Because as opposed to somebody spending 3 or 4 days of every month trying to just reconcile, how do you map your inbound invoices to what has come in? You're recording it to the general ledger. And then let's not forget, within the AP process, we all know about the GRIR process. I don't know about you, but from my experience, I've had some interesting experiences with GRIR. GRIR is one of the most critical areas because you really have to match your goods receipt to your invoice receipt. Typically, in most organizations, this is a manual process. Under using Central Finance, there's an app there that actually allows you to automatically match your goods receipt to your invoice receipts. Highlighted there in the third line, you see that the application can actually learn from historical previous mapping. So let's say 1 month you have a reconciliation item that you have to now map. The next month, the system automatically learns to say, okay, last month this was mapped to this customer. This month, there's no need for review anymore. I'm going to automatically map this. So that's the power of machine learning when it comes to the GRIR. And everybody knows that that's one of the most critical areas that companies need to reconcile on a monthly basis. Another cool feature is what we call the payment advice extraction. So customer payments are coming in every month. Usually somebody has to take that customer payment. They have to now map that customer payment to that general ledger account as well as that invoice. The neat thing about the payment advice extraction application is that that can actually scan your unstructured data like an email, a check, and automatically log that payment into the system. So if you take a step back and you say, okay, that's great, RPA, robotic process automation, machine learning, what is that doing for my accounting department? Well, if you have somebody who was previously working on manually matching your goods receipt to your invoice receipt or manually matching your incoming payments to that invoice, what are you now going to do with that free time? It really asks the question that, what are you going to do? Well, the answer is very straightforward. It's that now you can do more analyses. You can focus your time on more value-added resources. So you can look at saying, okay, my worker's role is changing from being a data gatherer to a data analyst. That's important because everybody in new organizations, they want to say, okay, how are you adding value to the organization? And accounting has typically been the back office, those guys who record numbers. But now you see more value-added services and telling the business, if you did this, you have this result. So it's more analyses. It's bringing more value-added services to the accounting and finance groups. Sarah, if you want to go to the next slide, please. Again, back in the accounting, in the deep trenches of the accounting roles within the finance organization, you have the accounts receivable department as well. What is their role? So typically on a regular AR department, what are they doing? They're receiving checks all over in different formats from all over the mail, emails, coming from lockboxes. And their job is really, they are matching these payments to the invoices. Typically, in my experience, it's been a manual process. So what is the benefit of Central Finance from that perspective? Well, there's a cash application, machine learning logic that automates the account receivable matching. That's very, very powerful. Again, it's all about freeing up of resources because instead of somebody sitting there for 3 or 4 days manually mapping and matching these receipts to the invoices, what is that person now going to do? That person can do analysis. That person can do giving more data feedback and saying, this is how you can you improve your process. So what does the application actually do? It continuously learns, it improves, it adapts to its rule engine. Again, from the accounts payable feature we talked about before, it can now read unstructured data, which a classic ERP cannot. What it does, it proposes matches. So once you now tell the engine, this month you can match this customer to this invoice, the next month there's no need to do it. It automatically knows the next time. So it learns as it goes along. So the last line is very important. It basically tries to eliminate the last 5% of that manual reconciliation, which really causes 80% of the manual effort. It's very important because, as we said before, you're moving from a data gatherer to a data analyst. So you're really helping the business move forward. The last piece, the last benefit that I see coming from the accounting side is really your intercompany matching process. As we know, as you close your accounting books every month, especially with multiple subsidiaries, somebody has to now match your intercompany receivables to your intercompany payables. Those things have to be cleared off because, as we all know in accounting world, intercompany has to net to zero once you consolidate at the corporate level. What does this benefits of central finance application do? It matches and clears affiliated invoices. What is the benefit of that? You're avoiding differences, pressure period end closings, and it posts the clearings and corrections automatically. One more important thing that it actually does, it posts the supporting documentation into the GL automatically. Typically, you have somebody clearing, matching the receivables to the payables for each subsidiary, and then they would have to manually go in and actually post the GL data. With this tool, you're actually doing it automatically. Again, this is all about using analytics and automation to really drive the business organization faster, more efficiently, especially from the accounting. So now accounting is not necessarily just the back office guys doing historical reporting, but now we have more time in that organization to free up resources. And now we're actually telling the business, maybe you want to do this, maybe you want to do that. One good thing about that is that now you're going to have value added resources in the accounting department that's going to help drive the business forward. Sarah, I would turn it back to you based on
Julio,
that. Yes,
Julio,
sure.
let me ask you one question, because you and I talk, and we talk to customers a lot. And one of the things that occurs to me, the benefits of central finance, and Sarah's going to show some of that, but you talk about intercompany matching, you talk about accounts receivable. Talk for a minute your perspective on the fact that it's one thing to do all of this when you have a single ERP system, but when you have multiple subsidiaries with multiple ERPs and you're trying to do this from a finance perspective, can you see benefit in having a centralized finance system, and talk about that for a moment?
Yes. So so the beauty of central finance is that it becomes your universal platform for both SAP and non-SAP applications. So in a number of multi-country environments, you may have SAP in every country. So you may have QuickBooks, you may have Dynamics, or what have you. The good thing about central finance is that it becomes the universal platform. So it actually was built for companies to use SAP and non-SAP systems that will usually use. From that perspective, you have a nice smooth flow of data coming in from all these SAP and non-SAP. The benefit of that is clear, John. So besides all these benefits of AR, AP, all the stuff that nobody likes to do but has to do to close your books, you have that synchronization of data in one universal platform. From there, you have one record of truth that's going to have any recordings, any results oriented. It's going to help the company have one source of truth for its data. That's very important because you don't have to go back and look in your QuickBooks application. You don't have to go look back in your other countries that has Microsoft Dynamics or what have you. You're using central finance as this one source of truth that's going to help companies they feel more comfortable that their data set is accurate. I think from an accounting perspective, from an audit perspective, that's
Right.
very important.
Right. Particularly from, as you and I both know, talking to folks. In fact, I had a meeting yesterday with a couple of technical accounting team people, and audit was a big issue there. Having a single system with single traceability probably reduces your audit costs almost by 50% if you can prove that out. So, a benefit of central finance and moving here is all of the things you talk about, as well as that whole opportunity to really focus on audits, disclosures. As we know, it's probably really challenged as we look at companies who are doing multiple systems for disclosure management and RAR or leasing. So great
Right.
point.
And John, it goes a little further, because if you look at, what is an employee going to do when you have all these engines doing the manual work for you? What is that employee going to do? And basically, these employees are going to spend more time analyzing the business, answering questions that were never made possible before, contributing in ways previously only imagined, because essentially you're going to have greater job satisfaction, because that AR clerk, the AP clerk, they don't want to sit down there for 5 days and match invoices to the payments. So now you're actually asking them to do more analyses. And I think that gives, for a lot of companies and people, greater job satisfaction, greater employee retention. So there's a number of great benefits from that perspective as well, if you think about it.
Yeah, no, very true. Cool. All right, Sarah, on to you.
Thank you, gentlemen. All right, so from here, I want to dive in a little bit more and discuss more specifically around what central finance entails and how our users are kind of using it. So to come back to kind of this similar diagram, still using the digital core platform and the integrated applications, but now we're hosting the digital core as a central finance system. So central finance is a running, working S4HANA environment that pulls data in from other S4 HANA environments, ERPs, ECC within SAP, as well as non-SAP systems. So what it's doing is it's really bringing all the information in together to standardize it so that you've got these unified reports. You're going to have one single source of the truth, the ability to pull up reports and have consistent processes across really the entire organization, rather than having kind of different processes or different master data throughout multiple ERPs. It's also going to help with this automation. So a lot of the automation that Julio was just discussing about having minimal human interaction with the processes, being able to spend more time interacting with the data and analyzing the data throughout the system. So these are just a few of the different ways that and different applications that are integrated within Central Finance, as well as it's still, as a core application, has the integrated capabilities with some of these other operational systems. So to kind of take a step back to deal with kind of a lot of what our customers are dealing with today, if we look at a traditional architecture. So this is a traditional architecture, resides within SAP systems, non-SAP systems. If you're looking at your ERPs today, you're really looking at kind of multiple tables that hold all of the data that is needed. So you've got reconciliation that takes place between your material and your GL, same with accounting or asset accounting, same with your CO. And the problem with this architecture is there's a lot of movement of data. So you're having to move from within one table to the next. You're having to create multiple documents for all of them, those movements, the reconciliations. And a lot of our customers don't just have one ERP system. So looking at this current architecture across, 5, 10, 50 ERP systems that they may have for their financials, it's going to start to add up. You're going to have a lot of human interaction. The performance is going to often require the use of a business warehouse. So you're having to extract a lot of the data in order to even do reports. So what SAP decided when they created S4HANA is they wanted to create a way to simplify this architecture. And what we did when we look at SAP's S4HANA Core Finance is they created this term universal journal. The Universal Journal really takes the best of all the worlds, takes the best of all the tables that SAP had out there, and what they've created is this one line item table. So this one line item table brings in your information again from asset accounting, material ledger, your GL, you've got your CO information here, and it really resides all within one table, meaning that it's all stored just once, and there's no longer the need for you to reconcile between all these different tables. Now, for our hardcore SAP ECC users, what you're thinking is probably, okay, well, where did all of my tables go? Where are all of my documents on those tables? All those tables are now residing here, and you still have these virtual documents that will create for your traditional documents that you see within ECC, but the data is going to reside in one place, meaning that now I can report on any of the line items I need to report on. I can create analytics and different reports that are out there. It reduces my memory footprint, so all those different replications of data are now eliminated because it all is going to reside within one table. You can look at secondary cost elements now in your GL accounts. You can bring in your parallel ledgers. You can do different custom fields within this table, but it's all going to reside within one place so that you now have one single source of truth, and you no longer need to replicate that data. The Universal Journal also provides for some additional currencies. So in your traditional ERP systems within SAP, you've got your 3 local currencies within FI, so you can handle those. You've got your currencies within your CO as well as your material ledger. So you've got multi-currencies here. When we're looking at an S4HANA instance or Central Finance within the Universal Journal, you can have up to 10 local currencies. So meaning that you'll have your local currency, global, and then 8 free currencies out there. So if you're doing any transfer pricing or any valuations with anything else that's out there, that can all be done within the Universal Journal. It can handle all of this. You can configure really any currency type to be brought in and kind of view these within the Universal Journal. So it gives a little bit more flexibility than what was in our traditional ECC. All right, so I would like to get into the system and kind of give you guys a demonstration. The SAP Central Finance system is, again, like I said, a full-fledged working S4HANA environment. It can run on multiple devices, so you can run on your desktop, it can run on your tablet or phone because it is an HTML application. So as we drill in, we can kind of see the differences between Central Finance and kind of your traditional ECC screens. So when we first come in, this is going to be my home screen. So I've actually kind of rearranged some tiles that might not look similar or might not look exactly the same as to what we just had on the screen. But I've got some tiles that are important to me. So I can kind of set up different groupings for tiles so I can only see different ones at a time. I've got the ability to come in and make changes to my user, change my settings, edit my different tiles that I have here. Each of these tiles are important because now we're not just working with transaction codes. Within traditional ECC systems or maybe some other non-SAP systems, you're working a lot with transaction codes. Well, now with these tiles, you can get into transactional data. You can also drill back into analytics. You can create reports or different tiles that really drill back into anything. You can also drill into, if you've got ECC instances, if you want to drill back into those or other URLs as well, you can really make a tile and drill into almost anything that's out there. So that's what we're kind of looking at here, some of our analytics tiles against some of our maybe operational tiles. If you also come up here on the top, you've got searching capabilities. So I can search across anything within the system that I would like to see. It's got smart search, so it's kind of like Google search if I wanted to look at anything, and then it goes out and looks across the system for everything. So applications, GL accounts, customers, I can search any of that information. I also got a notifications tab here, so this can actually bring me back if I had any notifications letting me know. I can drill in there. And then what's important for a lot of our users who are thinking about going to S4, thinking about going to Central Finance, is that it's got help functionality built into the application. So you don't just have to go out and Google how to do something or try and figure it out or take multiple trainings for all of your users. It's got this smart help in there to be able to say, what are you looking for? What do you need help with? There's a learning center that's going to be able to kind of prompt your users to do some self-help before they need to go in and actually find someone else to help them. Okay, so that's just kind of a rundown of the look and the feel of the application. And I want to start by going in and taking a look at our P&L. So starting at the beginning, we'll take a look at what our P&L looks like. And what this is going to do is this is going to allow us to create a report based off of all of those dimensions that we discussed that are in the Universal Journal. So we might just see a few here when I pull up our P&L. So I'm going to look at a planned version, planned versus actuals for year to date. And what it's going to do is it's going to go out there and look against all of my dimensions and pull up the data that is needed. Okay, so what we're looking at is we're just going to look at a planned actual for what our revenue is going to look like for this year. What we can see here is I've got all my measures and all of my dimensions that I can kind of view here. So I can pull anything out that's available for my P&L. If I wanted to view segment information or customer group or anything out there that really allows for me to drag and drop into these dimensions. What I'm also looking at here is I'm just looking at one of my GL accounts for my actuals versus my plan and what's my differential. I can make this a graphical view if I wanted to drill into the graphs and take a look here, but I can also just kind of view it from here. What we're going to notice is it's just bringing up kind of my totals right now. But this isn't a static report. Now, when we talk about everything residing within the one platform, residing within the one table, what's different than what you're traditionally getting today is, okay, well, I've got a report, I've gone out, I've sent something to my users. Now I'm just getting a kind of a static report of what I want to view. But in order to drill down into the live data, you've got to have that report in the same system as your operational data. So with this, I can actually jump into kind of really anywhere within the system. I can go in and clear open items if I need to. If I was looking at customer line items, I could go in and maybe post customer payments, post incoming payments or outgoing payments if I was on the payable side. But really, I just want to view what all my account line items are that encompass this actuals for year to date. So I'm going to drill back into my GL accounts. I'm going to turn the help off. So I'm going to start. Let's refilter this for Central Finance. What we're looking at here, I've actually filtered it down to just September through today or through the end of the month. But what we're looking at is our same GL account. So we're still looking at our receivables across our same 1710 company code in a certain chart of accounts, controlling area, and for this year. So you can save different search or variance capabilities here. And then I'm also going to look across a certain variant for kind of how I want my screen to view. So I want to be able to see customer, journal entry, sender information. And as I drill down, I'm now looking at all of my GL line items that make up all of my revenue from September until today. So I can see here I've got my customer information, my journal entry. Well, what's important about this, and the reason we're talking about Central Finance, is this journal entry wasn't actually created in this system. It was created in a sender system, so an ECC system 800. So it also gives us our sender document number. But what I can do is I can drill down from my line items, and I can continue to drill into my journal entry. So I'm going to drill down again. That's one of the great things about SAP and what they've continued to do even better within Central Finance is I can drill down now into my journal entry. So I can see here my journal entry for my amount $8.99. For my global currency is going to be in the euro. What we're looking at here, what's important to notice, so we've got our sales order here, we've got our material, we've got our company code 1710. All of this information is really what resides within Central Finance. When we drill into the sales order, we're going to notice some differences. We're going to notice company code differences, we'll notice customer name differences, sales, plant, things like that. So all of this is going to have to actually, is what's mapped into your Central Finance system. So we go back to our journal entry. This is actually going to be what's broken down from the accounting standpoint. So we can see here we've got our receivables and our revenue for the $8.99, but there's also our related documents. So related documents is going to be similar to the document flow within ECC. So we start to come down, you'll notice all these different object types here. These are all what is kind of created within the system, whether it's created from the ECC system, where it comes from. The blue are all actual documents that are physical documents that were created. So we've got an accounting document that was there, controlling sales order. Those are the only documents that are getting created within Central Finance now, getting created within S4. You're not going to have a material document that's created. You're not going to have the profit center document or profitability. All of these still reside as virtual documents because it needs somewhere for the source system with ECC and all of the different tables to post. But now that it all resides within one universal journal, there's no need for all of these separate documents because they all reside on one table. But what we can see is here, we can actually drill back into our source document. So if you've got the connector set up, you've got the mapping correctly, I can actually take my sales order from Central Finance and drill back in to my source document. What this is going to do is it's going to open up the ECC system, and it's going to showcase the difference between kind of what we saw within our journal entry on the Central Finance side and what we see on the ECC side. So we're going to see here is our material is actually different. We're looking at M12 for our material. We're also looking at a customer CUST-05. Well, that's not the customer that was on our line items. And we'll go back and take a look at that, as well as some of the mappings. But we'll also see, if I drill into my document header, I have a sales area of 3,000. Well, my sales area or my company code for this particular document within Central Finance is 1710. You can also scroll down, go back. You can also scroll down and see any of the shipping information here. So we've got our customer information. We can drill into accounting, and you'll be able to really see all the different views for what kind of takes place within this customer. The company code to be billed is 3,000. So with that being said, the differences are that all of the information that at the most granular level detail takes place when the document is created, and then that information gets mapped into Central Finance. So Central Finance is now my one place that I can go for kind of all of my information, but without fully getting rid of the ERP systems. So,
Sarah, real quick, there are a number of questions. Can you talk for a moment about that mapping process? Are you going to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I can actually, it'd probably be good to jump into that before we get into kind of looking at some of the other things. So that'd be good.
Sure.
So what actually takes place, and I will go into our mapping. So there is some key mapping, and this is just kind of a light view. So for some of the people that are like, okay, that seems too simple, there are a couple things that take place. So we first come into our mapping. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up that ECC system. So the ECC or ECW 800. So that's the one we were all looking at. What I'm going to actually do is I'm going to pull up my customer information because we've seen a lot of stuff with our customers, and we were just looking at a sales order. So I'm going to pull up my customer that we were looking at in the sales order, and I'm actually going to see where it's all mapped to. So this is where you'll start kind of setting all this up. When you create a central finance system, you're creating an S4HANA system. So it's bringing in really everything within S4HANA. So when you start to think about what you want your central finance system to look like, you're going to do a lot of kind of master data governance. You're going to look at kind of where everything resides today and how you want your master data to look, and how you want your chart of accounts to look, how you want your customer information to look for going forward. Once you get that, you can take all of your ERP systems, SAP or non-SAP, and bring them in and have all this mapping. So for example, if we're bringing in, let's say we've got, one ERP system, we're sending out all of our sales information. Well, we might have a different instance where we send out our invoices. So for example, here we could have multiple systems talking to each other. We can have our ECW connected here at CUSTO5. We could have our S4HANA as well as maybe another instance that's out there. So all of these are going to map together, meaning that as these any of these documents come in from these systems, they're both going to hit this same customer that is now my master data for my master customer within S4HANA through Central Finance. Does that make sense to everyone? Were there any specific questions, John?
Yeah, that was really the specific question around how do you map them all together, and is there a lot of master data work and upfront? And I think the answer is yes. And at Bramisol, one of the things that we've done is partnered with some of the experts in data migration, and we have data migration experts. And one of our first things we do is an assessment on master data so that we can help you kind of get a real sense of that. But no, that was great, Sarah. Thank you.
Any other questions, John?
Nope. So far, so good.
Perfect. Okay. So yeah, that kind of ties into the mapping. What you can also do is, as a kind of central finance system, you can use this as kind of your hub. So if you wanted to come through and kind of start at, let's see here, display our line items. I wanted to start with kind of displaying my GL line items. I can use this to kind of drill into our overall customer line items. So I can view it across all of my customers. Actually, I'm going to go into manage my customer line items. So I can view it as kind of my central. So if you've got any shared services that you wanted to kind of bring together, that could be a use case for central finance. If you wanted to be able to view kind of all of your customer information, you'd be able to bring all of that into one place. So what we're looking at here is now we're looking at my customer, USCU05. So that's the same one that talks to our CUST05 in our other system. And what we're going to see here is we've got different kind of line items below. So I can view all of my open items that are still out there, as well as anything that's really cleared. So I can drill down. Again, you've got your ability to drill down into your journal entries. I can drill into customer information if I wanted to clear incoming payments, or clear incoming payments, post incoming payments. I can post those directly from within the system. So if I kind of drill in from my customer line items, now I'm able to continue to take action. So at any point in time, you're not just kind of viewing operational data, viewing transactions that come in, but I can go from a reporting standpoint, I can go from a transactional and actually get into the data to make something happen. So I can do all of this without having to leave the page that I was just on. All I'm going to need to do is enter in my bank or my GL account. So I think we have a B of A account out here. We can enter, and then we can propose all of the open items that are actually out there. So we've got all these items that are still available. So we have that one $8.99 that was still open on our item sheet. We can actually bring that over. We can now see we've got our $8.99 value. So I'll put that in here. And we can simulate or post directly based off of what we see. So if we wanted to simulate what that's going to look like before we post it, it's going to add in our profit center information. And what this is actually going to do is this is going to post an incoming payment against a sales order that was created in another system. So this is going to be able to talk back to the system to be able to say this payment has been processed for this particular customer. It can send that information back so that you've got that full reconciliation of any of your financials that came through. So we've got our receivables. If there was any gain or loss on the payments that you made, you can select the different currencies. So if I wanted to view what that's going to look like in currency, and it's posting that in our company code 1710 today. So all of that is being taken place here. You can post, and then now I'm using my SAP Central Finance system as my record of the truth. So it now has a new journal entry, has been successfully saved. I can go back and I can see what that looks like across kind of all of my documents here. So I now have a new controlling document for this post that has been posted. All right, so that kind of wraps me up for the demo. John, are there any questions before I kind of continue on the slides?
Oops. Yeah, not, I mean, there's some back and forth here about the single global instance. But that's a little bit more detailed. We'll take that one offline.
Okay, so just a couple other slides. When we talk about this universal journal and this embedded analytics, I like this slide. I've seen a few times at SAP. When you see this universal journal, we talk about Central Finance, non-SAP, SAP systems coming in. There's really all these different modules that take place that are really encompassing the data within the universal journal. So whether we're looking at cash management, accounts receivable, shared services, you're looking at your reconciliations or soft close, if you want to use the closing planning or predictive information. I think, Julio touched on this a little bit from AP side, being able to say the predictive analytics or planning, and then kind of the cash management piece. So all of this is really what encompasses the embedded analytics. It encompasses the universal journal, being able to bring the data in to one unified place to be able to have that application.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's certainly a great opportunity for companies who are, as you look at this, Sarah, companies who believe, just like SAP does, in the digital core or best-in-breed applications. This is a great way for people to have a centralized place to do their single source of one truth, or managing all of your finances while using best-in-breed applications or carefully migrating others. So this is, again, a great way for companies to get started in S/4HANA, but to really not only get started, but take full advantage of the real power of S/4HANA. So I love the idea myself.
Awesome. For the companies that are out there that are wondering, okay, am I a model company for Central Finance? Why should I do this? Central Finance really allows for you to kind of do a quick start to the Central Finance project. So what that means is if there's just a piece, like we just kind of focused on the shared services side today, if there's just a piece within finance that you kind of want to centralize, but you've got multiple ERPs, multiple instances going on, SAP, non-SAP, this is really the route for you. It helps reduce cost. It's a big thing for decreasing risk, a lot with, a lot of human interaction, a lot of replication. It is knowledge-based, so for discovery, exploration, it's got all of these different activities for a Central Finance project. And really what's included, they've got accelerators for the project management. You're able to do full S4 Central Finance. There's help with the system landscape transformation. Master data governance is a big piece. I know that was a question, and it is a big piece for this because you're kind of setting up a whole new ERP system. So being able to take a look at what you have today, taking a look at the processes, taking a look at your master data, and kind of view and pick, what do you want this to look like in the future? This is going to be your future system. So as well as doing discovery landscape. So if that's something that needs to be. And then lastly, just to kind of wrap up, there are a few additional business benefits. So not just for the users, but overall with Central Finance, the efficiency. So being able to take those users, like Julio said, away from replicating the data, away from trying to manipulate and move and understand the data, and actually start looking at automating these processes and reducing the cycle times for this data so that your users can actually start looking into the data, the versatility around it. So optimizing resource allocation, improving some of those processes like collections, receivables, cash management, and then the overall transparency of the solution, being able to establish really that single source of the truth, being able to view the in-memory application rather than all the individual memory within the different ERP systems, and really introduce, an automated exception management system that really kind of helps your finance users, help your overall business processes kind of change from a transactional and resource-related process to kind of an automated, analyzed, business. So thank you, everyone, for kind of sticking with us on our Central Finance overview.
Sure.
I'll put this back up if anyone has any questions or want to know how to get in contact with us. And then, John, I'll turn it over to you to see if anyone
Thanks,
has
Sarah.
questions.
As always, fantastic job. I appreciate the time and effort you put into this. There was a question about security, and the question, Sarah, was I assume, and I know, but maybe you can speak to roles, security, segregation of duties. All of that is embedded here. It's the same you would get anywhere else with SAP, and in fact, quite honestly, because of all of the machine learning tools such as business integrity screening and others, it's actually a far more powerful cybersecurity platform than traditional ECC, I would assume.
Yeah, so you said it exactly. I mean, I don't really know what else I'd add other than it's got same roles and security as ECC plus more. So you'll see a lot of that as you kind of go through, and we can talk about that with anyone.
Absolutely, and we'll be doing some webinars, and look for us. We're doing a machine learning and accounting machine learning talk at SAP Insider coming up in Las Vegas in the middle of March. So check that out. Again, thanks to you. I know Julio unfortunately had to join a customer call and dropped off. But look for more on this topic from us. We are the leaders in SAP finance transformation, particularly as it relates to focus on revenue, asset, and treasury management. And thank you again, Sarah, and I hope everybody has a terrific holiday and a happy new year, and we look forward to talking with you all in January. Thank you very much.